Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant. My name is Niels Tudor Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. Opening up the Brussels bubble is always fascinating, especially when looking into the section of the bubble that is closely linked to shaping and forming work program content, short and long term. EFFRA, or European Factories of the Future Research Association, is one of the European partnerships. This means that the organization is feeding input into the Horizon Europe work programs and have their own section made in Europe. Decubber is one of my contacts that goes way back, probably 15 years. He has been an advisor for EFFRA since it was inaugurated back in 2009, which of course means he has an extremely solid knowledge about how to facilitate strategic positions for the manufacturing industries vis-à-vis the EU R&D Framework Programme for Research and Innovation. Hence, he has been on my list of preferred guests for a while. So here it is. We have an interesting conversation about the work EFFRA does, their role in the ecosystem, and how they work with the input for the work programs. And also how you can get involved. Great content. Please enjoy. The Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. Today I have a guest that I met for the first time many years ago, and it's like this when you've been working with the EU R&D funding field. You've been roaming around in Brussels for years, within different organizations, in and out, and so on. You stumble into people, and you show to have something to do with them, and then years can pass without any contact at all. Chris, welcome.
Thank you, Niels. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you in. And before we zoom in on my cliffhanger here on why we know each other, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Well, Chris Decubber, Belgian, Flemish Belgian. That doesn't matter too much here, but that somehow explains how I pronounce my name.
Mm-hmm.
I've been involved in research and development since the early 90s. I actually started working in a research center and technology transfer center that's now called CIRIT. Been quickly involved in European research, actually, and somehow that brought me into the world of European associations, also brought me in the context of Belgian industry federations. And that brought me to EFFRA, the European Factories of the Future Research Association.
Mm-hmm.
And well, we will have plenty of time to talk about what EFFRA is, but somehow it's my mixture in terms of capabilities regarding some knowledge on technical matters and some capabilities in terms of how associations work that brought me to EFFRA.
You've been there for an eternity.
Almost.
Yeah. That's almost a lifespan career.
Well, EFFRA was born in 2010, and well, I've seen it being established throughout the years before, when European technology platforms were seen as a good vehicle to organize a research and development community in a certain area, in this case, manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the ManyFuture European technology platform already was set up like in 2003 or something. So then in 2009, 2010 came the Factories of the Future partnership with the associated association that represents the private side. So yes, since those days I've been involved in this. Yeah.
We will look a little bit into your role in that value chain as we move on with the talk here. We know each other because I was working for the Danish offshore wind sector, both research and industry, and we definitely stumbled into each other in brokerage events. That's brokerage events because I was mapping Brussels. I was going to brokerage events to establish a network on behalf of the sector, and you were one of the people that I ran into. And that was exactly, I started in 10 in Brussels, 2010. So that fits very well with the timeline, so to say, of how we met. I don't remember exactly the year, but it was back then. And then we, on and off, I've been having you on my list, contact list that followed me on my career. So you've always been there somewhere, in as part of the important organizations within EU R&D funding for the specific sector. That enough about my personal recollections of my past and how we met. Chris, we are going to have a talk about how you represent the manufacturing industries of Europe in Brussels. And focus is, of course, going to be on the EU funding. We're going to talk a little bit about your role in consultation. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you facilitate things for your members. But to go there, I always sort of, my modus operandi would always be to first sort of have a fly in, and then we talk a little bit about what EFFRA is and so on before we get to the actual topic, so to say, relevant for my listeners. So first of all, flying on EFFRA. Can you say a little bit more what it is? Background.
All right. Okay. Yeah, sure. So I referred to a partnership, and here in this context, we're talking about a partnership between the European Commission and a research community, an industrial research community, a research community with research and technology organizations, with academics, with other players. So technology providers, technology users. And the sense of the partnership is to make the best use of available funding for research and innovation in terms of which targets these funding has, in terms of how called topics are taking shape. The European programs are in many ways composed of calls for proposals, where consortia, they agree to go for it. They seek how to somehow fulfill a target that was explained to them through a call topic, and they compete for obtaining funding. Now, the sense of the partnership is that there's somehow a coherence across different call topics, and that you can refer to it as a program within the overall Horizon Europe program. So EFFRA's role in this partnership with the European Commission is, to give it a layer of community, a layer of being together in this, and that's very much related to talking with people. You mentioned consultation, to consulting people about where the challenges are, where we have to go, what's our vision. And one way of then making things materialize is to shape call topics that then give enough freedom still for all these smart people in Europe to make good projects that have impact, and that's an important word, impact. So
in short, you're one of the partnerships.
EFFRA is the association that is the private side, represents the private side in a partnership. So now the partnership is called Made in Europe. It used to be called Factories of the Future when it started with the first call in 2010. In Horizon 2020, it was still Factories of the Future. Now in Horizon Europe, it's called Made in Europe. So indeed, that's the name of the partnership, Made in Europe now.
Now, for the listeners, regulars or old timers will indeed know what the European partnerships refer to, because I made a full episode, but that's That's actually a couple of years ago, Marie Latour. We sat and did that. But European partnerships, they have the role in the framework, so say the R&D framework, delivering input to the European framework for research and innovation to deliver input. So each of these partnerships, they a little screw in their corner of delivering input in a channel or a stream or a flood that comes together into what you see in the strategic context that you have in the work program. And here, Chris and EFFRA, they represent the private side, as I just mentioned, on the manufacturing industry side. And you would then sit together with other parts. So you represent the private sides that gives input, and then you would have is that what you call Made in Europe? The public, the research side?
Well, the research side, the private side is a community which is an industrial community, research and technology organizations community, academics community, technology transfer players, all the players that are involved in making innovation happen. Technology providers, technology users, manufacturing companies, providers of manufacturing solutions. The European Commission represents, the European Union in terms of, this has to have a good impact, a societal impact. It has to make, prosperity go in the right direction. So the partnership lies in, having the European Commission representing, all our stakeholders, society, and the solution providers, which includes, machines, but also includes knowledge, includes software technologies, includes materials, technology experts that know how to shape these materials into the products of the future. A lot of clever people. And we have to channel that cleverness into results, in solutions that lead to circular solutions, that lead to energy efficient solutions, that lead to productivity in Europe, that lead to well-being of humans in factories. And that's how this community works. And EFFRA is an association that brings together members. That's maybe interesting to note. There are some members that pay a membership fee and hence are closer to the association as such because of the membership. But clearly we at EFFRA we speak to a lot of stakeholders, members or not members. We'd like to know what's important, what people feel in terms of where innovation needs to go in terms of manufacturing. That's what we do. That's what we are for. And since we have a role in shaping priorities, of course, the European Commission takes into account a lot of things, including what we feel is important. European Commission is in touch with the member states or the countries that are associated to the program, not only member states, there's also associated countries through these program committees. So there's, these three partners, European Commission, Program Committee, EFFRA, somehow are responsible for, the program itself and for managing the outcome also on program level. So it's keeping, an oversight in what's happening on the program. So also we can shape next programs better. Because now even we're already looking to what happens after Horizon Europe. So it's really also very future oriented in terms of, what's next. There's a new European Commission being formed now. So it's all being ready for, entering into the discussions with decision makers also at the European Commission. Making sure that the requirements from manufacturing industry are understood, are seen as offering also solutions, and together we're in this, and we need to create impact through making good decisions that are substantiated by examples, by best practices, by good stuff we already see happening around us through innovators. And that's why we need this community. We need to be in touch with people that are convinced of where we need to go, or convinced of solutions, whether it's clever AI or understandable AI, explainable AI, or use solutions in terms of how to use 5G, new materials in manufacturing that can make the future products more sustainable, more circular, design for sustainability, design for circularity, a lot of things. It's very broad, and somehow we need to channel all those things towards a program that makes sense.
And it's now we are actually slowly moving and bridging into the next block here on your mission and structure, because naturally all these things that you mentioned here, it's something you need to frame that. You cannot run in all directions within these areas. Some things are more important than others, and it's the community that knows where things are going. It's that they know about the knowledge, about the technologies, about the processes, and so on. What's groundbreaking, what's moving on here? Where do we need to zoom into to become a competitive industry or keep being a competitive industry? So let's move into this. Key missions.
Competitiveness is definitely a key mission, and if you put sustainable in front of that, sustainable competitiveness, it's a word that's been around for a lot of years, but that's, I think, you can put it in a very short way like that. It's sustainable competitiveness. It's getting out maybe of a vision of some people that we already lost the race and things like that. No, we have capabilities in Europe, and our mission is to use our capabilities, use our strengths to be competitive, and also to be a leader in terms of sustainability. I mentioned circularity already, energy efficiency. There's a lot of challenges we need to cope with. There's the demographic evolution in Europe. There's the need for skills. So there's a lot of challenges that we need to face, and our mission is to address these challenges. For European competitiveness.
And your key mission. So if you talk about the end product, so to say, that is the input for the framework programs, right?
Well, concretely, since we are the private side in the partnership made in Europe, concretely that means that our duty is to do all the best we can to shape that program, to shape together with the European Commission the core topics of the program, because there's money on the table that needs to be well spent. So that's very concretely, but of course, in terms of having a general understanding of where manufacturing goes, we also have an impact that goes beyond the pure core topics per se. For instance, there's national and regional programs running in Europe as well, and since our members are in many cases key players in national or regional programs, there's this very nice interaction of what's being done on national and regional level and what's being done on European level. And so that creates coherence in terms of where capabilities are being used for. And so in order not to have a situation where things happen in isolation, there's a lot of interaction across players in Europe, and we nurture that interaction.
So that's so moving on. So that connects to the key activities. So of course key activities, of course, so circling around working groups within the different focus area that you have to sort of distill what input that you will give forward to the system, but a key activity would also be to understand what happens in the sector. So my best guess is that you collect a lot of information, you talk to a lot of people.
Yeah, well, talking about key activities, another one that really is all about bringing people together is we have organized this European Manufacturing Conference.
Yes, I've saw it in my flow, in my feed in LinkedIn. Yeah, congratulations with that.
And that happened last week, and so bringing people together is very important. So it has a bigger impact than just the call topics. Call topics are key, and so coming back to that, we have actually put the guidance for a consultation on our website yesterday to address the next work program 26-27. So that really is very specific to doing our job in terms of collecting input from our members, but also from non-members. This consultation is actually public. We have been doing work group meetings with our members along different tracks, along humans in factories, along circular economy, circular manufacturing, along the topic of productivity, flexibility, covering sectors like the energy solution sector, transport solution sectors, looking into how exploitation of results could be enhanced. So definitely we are regularly doing our homework in terms of talking with members, going beyond talking with members, but this is a very specific consultation to really see how we can take the best of the two last calls already of Horizon Europe with respect to the Made in Europe program. And that involves making people speak up, also making people and organizations show to other organizations what they think is important, because that also creates future cooperations. Because if you see potential synergies, it's not only about shaping that one program again, it's about making other people know about there's this company elsewhere that wants actually something that perhaps we already are having a solution for. If we match up with that company, we could do great things together. So consultation is important for a lot of things. But yes, that's what we're doing. We've been doing that since the start in 2010. One outcome of that is the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, which at the start of a partnership, it's an essential document actually to support where it is going.
And just to explain the listeners, so the Strategic Research Agenda, as they also call them, this is the document where this is a 360-degree document on the technologies within a specific area where, let's say, within your area, manufacturing industry, you map, so to say, in chapters. So within this technology, these are the technologies we need to look at. Within this technology, we need to look at this within. So it's a mapping of what is the core areas of most importance for the Commission to zoom in on and focus on in the funding. As a funding administrator, deciding where should the money be channeled and how much. So it's very detailed. Sometimes it's down to how much money should be allocated to each area over the next working over the next 10 years, something like this. So it's just for the listeners to understand that this is basically a guiding guiding instrument for you as an organization, both for the community, but also for you as an organization representing it.
I need to add perhaps that it's not the call topics. So still for the community and the consortia that really would like to obtain funding, the call topics are actually the one and only document that consortia need to respond to when it comes to requesting funding. But the ESRIA is like the broader fundament is offering the fundamentals of the partnership and shows the agreement between the European Commission and the industrial and research community that these are the directions we need to go for. And then call topics are crystallized out of that. Yes,
exactly.
indeed.
Yeah. So you have you prioritize things. Often you would also prioritize which would be most important. And then it's because again, it's like you explained also that it's not just you. Yeah, it comes through a system where you also have the program committees. You have the commission itself that sits and looks at how should a call text around this be structured. We would like also to have this part involved, and so on and so forth. So yeah. Before we move into the funding area, can you just shortly the organization as like how's it go? So you have a board and you have a director and you have a secretariat.
Yes. So that in terms of a board, there's a board of the association itself. So I mean, it's a private international association, non-profit. So there's a director, there's a board of directors. The partnership itself also has a board. That's referred to as the partnership board. So and that's the place where delegation of, then in this case EFFRA, sits together with European Commission, and in our case that's both a delegation of DG RTD, DG Research and Innovation, and DG Connect, because in our case, in the case of Made in Europe, there's two directorates that are funding the partnership. The call topics are being funded through two channels. So DG Connect, DG RTD, and the delegation of EFFRA then compose the partnership board, and that's an important body for doing the partnership, discussing call topics, discussing how outcome of projects are being monitored. So indeed, the monitoring is something that is important. So EFFRA has a duty, since we have something to say as EFFRA with respect to future priorities, we also have something to do in terms of engaging with the projects, engaging with the wider community. I mean, also the EFFRA members that do what is called within that, requirement, additional activities. That's how it's called. Which may relate to training programs, regional programs, skills related programs, as I said. So to also show that that this community also spends money on these topics that are covered by the ESRIA. So there's not only the European Commission that is putting money on the table, and this needs to be monitored, and that's what EFFRA also needs to do and is doing. And it's also within that partnership board that the monitoring of the program is being discussed. So both, it's like preparing the future in terms of call topics and looking at what is happening now, so to oversee what's happening.
And
so
I
that's
think
these
it's
two
also a mirror
angles
of what you are as an organization, because you are a node, you're in between the community and the commission. So you're an intersection where you need to make sure that the commission knows what you communicate with the commission. You need to make sure that you have a strong communication with your community through, like the board you have probably consists of members. So because you need both sides, also on the strategic decision level and input wise, and it's that's why. And often I would say in many of the partnerships or similar associations or organizations in Brussels, you would have such a structure. And from when you if you haven't seen this structure before, it can seem a little bit organizational overload. You put all kinds of bodies, but they actually have a function, and it, as I said, it mirrors the role that you have as an organization.
Yeah. Well, now in terms of different layers, coming back to the association, it's quite simple. So the partnership board is an important body for the partnership. There's the board of directors that is purely internal to the association, and we use the partnership board members also to have dedicated meetings, to prepare our interaction with the Commission. On top of that, we have launched working groups, and when I mentioned to how we prepared the consultation, we use these working groups along the lines of human, circularity, productivity, flexibility, to gather opinions, as well as to gather information about what are the capabilities of the members in these different areas. And we also actually made some of those online meetings, and the outcome of that available via the EFFRA Innovation Portal, also to show, to give visibility, obviously, to our members, but also show the wider community these opinions, these capabilities, and we'll continue to do that to really nurture cooperation and nurture sharing of opinions. So that's exactly what we do. And so that you can see it as bodies within the associations, these working groups, but they rather function as, communities along certain research areas or certain targets like circularity and stuff like that. But in that sense, we're not perhaps not an over complicated association in terms of putting different stacks on top of one another until you reach the discussion with the Commission. So we try to avoid stacking up.
We're not going to touch the membership now, but maybe, no, you know what, we're going to deal with that with the consultation part, talking about your working groups. But you have working groups.
Yeah, as I mentioned, there are wider groups that bring together experts from the member organizations in certain areas, like the people dealing with human and manufacturing, people dealing with particular sector-specific points like transport sector solutions, manufacturing for vehicles, manufacturer for aeroplane solutions or components. So some of our members are big research and technology organizations, for instance, and that really cover a lot of things. And it's also important to be in touch with particular experts in particular fields. So that's where the working groups come in, to really be in touch with different
last
people
thing
about
before we step into
subjects.
talking about how you work with EU funding. How are you financed? Does the Commission cover part of your? How does it work? Is it the industry? Is the membership fee or partners? So do you have such a structure with partners and?
Well, it's the members. So there's I will not go into membership fees, and there's industrial categories. There's different categories according to the size of the industrial company, the size of the RTO. So there's a fee structure. So that's basically providing the income of the association. There were times where we were involved formally in some coordination actions. That's a particular type of project that's more about networking and community building. We have been involved in a few in the past. We are not involved in CSAs now, coordination actions. So we do, for instance, the manufacturing partnership days, where we bring actually the projects together. So that's not about bringing members together. Well, there's a lot of members in projects as well, but a lot of non-members too, definitely. So we bring those projects together, and here we create a cooperation with these projects. But basically, we take care of our own financing. We are not dependent on the European Commission for financing. Yeah.
Very well, thanks. Let's move on to talking a little bit more about digging into the funding part here, and how you involve yourself how you're involved in the EU funding ecosystem. So just first block here, EU funding. It's a pretty broad question, right? How do you work with EU funding? But maybe I put here your role in the ecosystem, but we already sketched that out. Yeah. but maybe so you just started talking about that you do involve yourselves in concrete projects yourself.
We have been doing that in coordination actions, because
Yeah.
some of these coordination actions were actually all about bringing projects together.
Yeah.
So something that we said, okay, that's something we're doing, and we shouldn't be competing with the coordination action. So it happened that we were involved in that. So yeah, but essentially, and that is being enhanced also through the requirement of monitoring. We are in touch with all the projects. So in a way, we already act as a
Yeah.
self-financed CSA, a
It's an
self-financed
interesting,
coordination.
it's an interesting sort of shadow role or something, like, because you know which projects have been funded for the program that you have handed input into and made in Europe. Are you do you communicate with them? Do you have that role? Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's very important. That's extremely important. So there's the point of being in contact with members.
Mhm.
There's the point of being in contact with anybody somehow that is a stakeholder. But
Mhm.
the projects are, of course, key. You need to
Yeah, yeah.
know what's happening,
It's the
and
backbone.
you have to bring them together, not only to have this bilateral connection between you and the project, but to nurture the contact between projects from the same call topic.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we would like to prevent that people reinvent the wheels several times in parallel. Of course, each project has their description of the action. They have their formal interaction with the European Commission. The European Commission is monitoring the projects and taking care that everything is done according to the rules, and that the funding that is being injected in the project is done in the right way. That's all being taken care of by the European Commission.
Yeah.
But we offer this additional service, if you can say it's a service actually,
Yeah.
to create a stage, to offer a stage to the projects, to make sure that projects meet one another. Some also do some clusterings around among themselves and taking the initiative. But
Sometimes
we
it's in the call text, right? Where they
yes,
say you have to connect
yes,
with with the others from the same call, or
or
you're facilitating part in that.
but we are offering a service. You can say it like that. We are offering a
Yeah.
service that enhances interaction
Yeah.
across projects. That the awareness of what's going on is very
Didn't know that.
important.
Yeah.
And so yes, and definitely also this is something we intend to enhance in the future. And communication about what are essential results of projects. What is essentially something that is exploitable. And by exploitable, I do not necessarily mean something that you could buy after the project is finished, because the project also are expected to stay away from creating marketable products while the project finishes. There still
Yeah.
needs to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
something done, and that's important, to also that there's instruments to make it reach the market. But since we are dealing with projects that have to make demonstrators, there's something that is practical about project results,
Yeah.
because it had to be demonstrated in one way or another in an industrial demonstrator most of the cases.
Uh,
So our job is also to come to the surface these exploitable results, make sure that they're not forgotten 2 years after the project has finished, to make sure that we take use of that intelligence in order to shape the future of the program, to take care of this legacy.
mhm.
So that's also something very important to do. And again, that creates also community, people knowing what other people have done, what's already there, because things are very complex in a way. One example, like the digital product passport, that's something that, in many circles it's being worked on. There's some obligations in terms of keeping track of things, but what does it really mean concretely for particular manufacturing processes if you want to create a kind of ledger of what has happened with a product across its lifetime? That involves standards. Are the standards available for documenting what's happened with the product while it's been manufactured, while it's being remanufactured? So that requires a lot of stakeholders with specific expertise to be sitting together, and they do not all the time sit together in the same project. There's a lot of sub challenges that are being targeted in different projects. So we somehow, well, we are not the glue. Maybe that would be maybe a bit arrogant to say that we are the glue, but at least we provide some components.
Chris, you don't have to perceive that as arrogant, because it's really because, first of all, I'm going to pat you. I'm going to put 2 hands in your back. Now, when you are an organization that has been running for almost 15 years in supporting a community with the R&D funding for developing technologies and innovation processes and so on, that creates a stronghold and a rock and a constant for the sector. So they know the manufacturing industry that do orient themselves towards getting external funding for innovation and technology development. They know that EFFRA is the place to go. That's the place to be. That's where you do all the needed facilitations to get in contact with the right people within the community, 1, and 2, commission the institutions to get your word, to have your word heard. Yeah. So that you never ever consider such a statement as arrogant, or no, it's not, because you are the glue.
Yeah, I didn't mean
it's very important.
I didn't mean to understate, but thanks for the support in this.
No, but really, because it's so important. These organizations that, and of course, we need to thank the Commission for starting up these, throughout the zeros to make sure that the communities would give a much more constructive and in a frame, so to say, input to the Commission. It is so important. These organizations and what you do, and especially people like yourself, Chris, and I'm patting you, especially you, because you've been sitting in the same place. You are a constant. Everybody in the community knows Chris Decubber.
Oh my God.
They know that you are the person that binds many, many things together, because you have continuity, you have the history, you understand technologies because you've been working with this for so many years. So you see things, you can analyze things both from a practical technical point of view, but also from a strategic point of view towards the Commission, within the community, where we go in with this, and so on and so forth.
Wow! Now I'm really you knock me off my feet. But well, the point is, being the glue is something interesting to be, because you're in touch with a lot of people and a lot of clever people with a lot of very interesting competences, and that's what, at least what we do a decent effort in being that glue. Let me put it like that without being arrogant. So
you know what? People within this sector, because I always perceived it as a parallel world. Yeah, people from the weird. If you asked your mom or your friends, especially when you just got the job, or many people in the social spheres that we move in as persons, they don't understand. They don't understand what is good, what we are working with, what we are doing. If they, you understand what I mean? It's so the surrounding world that we try to help with what we do, they have absolutely no idea of what it is and how it functions. So it's a parallel world and it's a shadow world, and it's so rare that there's recognition of the different screws, the different buttons that works within that system to make to support so many organizations, people, processes, developments of positive movements within sustainability, a better way of doing things in general. Overall, just let us be a better society, better companies, better people, better organizations, better administration, whatever. There's so many things that are not seen, and you're part of that.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be in touch with a lot of brilliant people that want to be good, want to do good for the society. So
Which
yeah,
is why maybe that's why I've been there so long, because it's a wonderful position to be in, because you only work with people who wants to do. I know you have conflicts of interest sometimes, you have discussions, you have. I know how that works, but still, everybody wants to move forward. It's a positive
there's a drive.
baseline.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a drive, and people want to get somewhere, and yeah. And I think in many reports, it's being stated that in terms of capacities, Europe is well placed. I mean, there's knowledge in Europe. There's people that think that we can. There's challenges, but we are there to manage the challenges, and there's this positiveness that we need to have,
right.
and we can create something out of this. Yeah, for sure. I'm convinced of that.
Now, from this very very supportive, and for you people out there, you need to understand this. Many of you do, but we tend to forget also to pat each other's back within these communities. Now, Chris, the last thing I wanted to touch upon before we move on to the consultation element and so on, because that's very interesting. Before we move into that, you also do the relation. Now we talked about community, so there's the content for work programs, and then the community building, community exchange, so on. But that connect to that is the brokerage events, no?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
we do. Yeah.
facilitation of good proposals. Yeah, you do that as well, no?
Yeah. Well, yes, there's always a will of people to make themselves visible, or an intention, and we offer our members the opportunity to say, well, this is coming up in terms of funding opportunities. We're here. We already did this and that was interesting. So maybe we are interesting for you out there. Yeah, so giving people a stage is very important in everything we do, and
Yeah.
that includes future funding opportunities. Although it's fair to say that competition is sometimes fierce, also
Oh yeah.
because there's and we offer a little help there, but there's many organizations are building up a legacy in terms of expertise in how to set up a consortium, how to address the needs spelled out in a call topic.
So do you do
Uh,
that kind of so you
well,
support in this
well,
way,
no,
sort
no.
of
What I'm saying
advising?
is that many organizations, they build up this expertise,
Yeah.
and somehow
Sorry. Yeah.
still we're happy to give general advice to people out there who says, well, how should I understand a call topic? For sure, we can explain that some general hints in terms of how to interpret a call topic, how to go about putting together a consortium, but we stay out of the competition. We have also members that are very probably in a consortium that is competing with another consortium, which also has some of our members in there, and there we
That's
need
also a
to.
problem.
And then, well,
Yeah.
we leave the playing field for them, and we offer general advice, general
Exactly.
support.
You
But
have to.
then, yeah,
It's you
yeah,
cannot
yeah,
give anything, it just has to be the same It has to be one-to-one. Nobody should ever come and be able, when they exchange between each other, oh, Chris helped you with that, but he didn't do this for, it should always be extremely, so yeah, that's
That's not always easy, perhaps, but but yes, so that's where we somehow need to be right, and we need to be neutral, and yeah.
Actually, there you have an element of civil servant there, Chris. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
serving a community,
You have the role of being non-partial. Yeah.
serving a community means that well, also in terms of maybe coming back to the consultation, people, like in anything, have different opinions about the certain technologies and also certain targets, and clearly we see a lot of convergence when we listen to experts, but there's always, well, you need to decide anyway. The money available is not infinite, so budgets are not infinite per call topic, so somehow one needs to make choices, and luckily we have this communication with the European Commission about choices, but yeah, one cannot always do right for everybody, but we definitely do a great effort in listening and taking into account what experts think. And I'm saying experts because there's I firmly believe that the people we're talking with, they in their daily business, they're dealing with industrial requirements, and so we should do a fair effort in taking into account what they say, and somehow that converges to some priorities that take shape and somehow then hopefully lead to good call topics that create impact. Yeah.
Which is bridging us into the consultation. Yeah? Involvement in the EU funding ecosystem. It's don't know if that's actually the most important thing here, because this what we're going to talk about is consultation. And dear listeners, most of you, if any of my listeners are not aware of the fact that FP10 has started to move, is very few of you will say, "Ooh, there's an FP10 preparations are coming on." Then you heard it last from the grant, so to say, because it's out there and it's been rolling for a while. So that's moving on, and so FP10. As if this is a podcast for everybody. So FP10 is what is coming up after Horizon Europe, the framework program for research and innovation. Now, it's going on now. It kickstarted off in the beginning of the year with the Danish government coming with their position papers, probably the commission and already in the back curtain done a lot of preparations, and now it starts to roll. Positions papers have been spread. It's been spitting out the whole since early spring, late winter. Now, naturally, with the kind of organization that you are, with your role with shaping content for the work programs, you have a vital role to play within what is here called Made in Europe, in Horizon Europe. You have a vital role to play in shaping that. And for that, you have a consultation part, which means you are gathering positions from your community. Now, I'm not going to say much more anyway, because I need you to share with us how you are doing this, so how you build this up, because this is a core part of what you do. I know that. Yeah.
Well, first of all, the specific consultation that we just launched is about Work Programme 26-27. Because there's
okay.
two.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, but no, hang on. So FP10 for sure somehow implicitly is connected to that, because some input will be perhaps more specifically applicable to the Work Programme 26-27, but there's always longer term visions that we obtain through this consultation. We have already among our members opened up an internal consultation with respect to FP10. Also, implicitly, somehow, it's perhaps embedded into what we offered as a teaser for this consultation. So it's not a blank sheet we offer. So it's a set of what we refer to as potential research topics, which should trigger respondents to say, yeah, that's what we need to do, and we should do it like this, or this technology is important. Circularity in manufacturing, for sure. I mentioned already before this digital product passport, and some might say, yeah, well, there's already this development and we should build on that. Or, well, our current project, we are running a project on circular, or we are running maybe a regional project on circular where we specifically went very concretely into a particular product, and we discovered really these and these barriers. So we should dive into this. So really to triggering people by giving some potential research priorities is what we do, and covering the entire spectrum of the scope of Made in Europe, be it from material processing technologies up to value network optimization, covering energy efficiency in manufacturing, circular economy in manufacturing, the role of humans in manufacturing, how AI is being deployed. Of course, AI could be deployed in many places, so we also expect
That's
that here, so that people would say, yeah, here now generative AI, that's the place where we should be using it. Or developments are on the way that indeed it can become very useful. And also, well, we should not forget that there's the program that's been on the way already for a while, and also with recently starting projects. So what we aim to provide in the context of this consultation is not only a list of teasers, these potential research topics, but we also put these teasers within an overall structure where respondents will see, okay, there's this call topic from the 21 call that actually already should be providing building blocks for improving circularity. There's this call topic that on manufacturing as a service that should help resilience in value networks, so that respondents also are being pointed at where ongoing work is already happening. So to give the full picture.
Wait a minute. The strategic research agenda, isn't that your guide?
Guide for sure, and that's actually say that's a guidance that was put on the table in 21, right? 21.
And how many years does it cover, so to say? How
well,
many years do you?
The partnership is 7 calls, right? 7 years.
So the strategic research agenda.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. But what many partnerships do, and we did that as well, is like after 4 calls, we did a consultation. We had some internal debate on where are we going now, and when we look at the 3 last calls, where should we look at with priority. And so we did a consultation actually last year, and that was built on around 15 priorities. In the meantime, we had the discussion with the Commission about the Work Programme 25, which is basically fully drafted. So the Work Programme 25 is there, will be fine-tuned, and will be finalized when the Commission is in place. And now there's these 2 years of 26, 27 to really make the best out of Made in Europe in Horizon Europe program. So you can refer to it as the fine-tuning of priorities toward these 3 years. That's an exercise that we do, and many partnerships associations are doing that providing the Commission with, saying, well, definitely the ESRIA is still very relevant. There was an overall agreement about that anyway when we were discussing the next 3 years last year. But it's always good to refer to, developments, to say, are we still agreeing on some of these priorities, and could we maybe define them a little bit more accurately? So that's what we did. And now towards Work Programme 26-27, we just would like to be as concrete as possible towards the Commission, entering in the discussions with the Commission, and also be able to refer as well as possible to everything that's already in the pipeline. Because there's really a legacy, and it's developing very quickly.
But it's also in the process that you have now. It's always an exercise to say, okay, what's the value chain, so to say, of technology? So what steps are there where we ask the Commission that these are the steps for this technology to reach this level? First, we need to look at this, then we can look at this, then we can look at this, and sort of a innovation steps, so to say, that you keep go up and up and up. And there's a logic to that. And naturally, what has been started, so we're going, like it keeps rolling, right? So what you did when you did the strategic research agenda, that was a photograph back in 21 where you had gathered input for what was supposed to be, and that has been funded now, some of it, and then on top of that you already back then you made a projection of what should be in the end of the term, but now you sort of recalibrate, see what has actually been going on. So what is the photograph now of this, what status of technologies within all the different areas that we cover, and how should we make the connection with the reality of the first part, and to make sure that it makes sense, the second, so the last calls here, that we push money for technology development within the areas.
Yeah, and also to see, okay, fine, we have projects on value network resilience or responsiveness. We have projects that deal with circularity. But one of the teasers actually that is in the consultation refers to the need to develop or to apply metrics in what does resilience mean? How do we measure that? Do we obtain knowledge about that? So because we have obtained more knowledge about to provide solutions that create resilience, that create circularity, but how does one measure that, so that also future projects, in order to assess where they're going, have some metrics, for instance. So that's an example of things that you see in the discussions, that you see appearing as, we have to be more quantitative sometimes about where you go and how you reach your target. And on this level, this is quite challenging. But there's a lot of demonstrators out there which solve particular challenges within an overall manufacturing process. But overall, assessing where productivity is going, where flexibility is perhaps reaching limits, knowing that, measuring that is important. So that's some of the hints that are included in consultation. So
Just practical.
Please.
I want to move into the practical part here, because it's just a little bit shedding a little bit light on how you work, how this process works, of gathering input and feedback. How have you started that? Did you start that in connection with the event last week, or or has it the process that you started now, where you send out a request from members on input on feedback of what they comment on how do you do this?
Well, maybe to look back, in fact, before summer last year,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in 23, we had quite some interaction with the Commission within the partnership board about, Work Program 25, 27, where are we in the program and what is important, so the consultation we did back then in summer 23 was very much influenced by our discussions with the Commission, for instance. So
Yeah.
already our Commission was integrated somehow in doing that consultation, and since it turned out that then the Work Program 25 would be developed independently from the Work Program 26, 27, also due to the fact that we had these elections and all that,
Mm-hmm.
there was actually a two-step process. So we had some priorities, which we then organized a consultation about to have some confirmation, to have some fine-tuning in terms of where the Work Program 25 needed to go. So we, in summer 24 now, we through the working groups that we put in place, the EFFRA working groups, we did a combination of a consultation plus capacity, people explaining what their organizations do in particular areas, like circularity.
Yeah.
And then point out, well, towards Work Program 26, 27, maybe these should be the directions we need to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, and many referred to actually the priorities we had done in our previous consultation. So it's really a rolling process where there's a reference, there's hooks to the ESRIA, there's hooks to our discussions with the Commission in summer 23. The working groups built on that. Experts from different organizations expressed then where exactly they think research should be targeting to. And from this, there are these 10 potential research topics that are in this consultation now. So somehow, there the piano player is me now in this case,
Yeah.
where I extracted from these elements these potential research topics to be the teasers for the consultation, knowing that some would say, "Oh, hang on, there's something else that you should take into account, or there's this and that." That's exactly what we'd like to see, to make people respond to that and see that we're getting to something that is being supported by a lot of people from different areas.
Do you use the working groups? Do they meet physically, or is there any sort of is that part of the logistical framework, so to say, for input for you in this process? Do you use them actively?
These particular working groups, there was a launch meeting in March
Okay.
earlier this year, and probably around the time we have the next General Assembly, there will be another set of physical working group meetings. We will have some online meetings in November actually as well now, and that's in the pipeline.
But are they your main roads of communication when you sit and, structurally? Is that where so the working group and the chair of each working group, is that your key interact, is the key places you interact with when you sit and build these things now?
Well, at this stage, it's centered around the discussion Work Program 26, 27 and FP10. I mean that's where the discussions are centered around. There will be probably also some particular meetings on particular topics organized in the context of a working group, but the point of the working groups during the year 24 was rather making people aware of, this is us as an organization, we're a member of EFFRA, we are doing this interesting research and developments already in, for instance, the development of manufacturing processes for batteries or for aeroplanes. We're doing zero defect manufacturing research in this area, that area. That's what we are, and we think for the future. This is where we need to go. This is where the role of AI is, etc., etc. So to create that awareness among who is who and who is doing what, and from this we extract also the information of, for instance, like in this case of doing a consultation, because we heard opinions from these different people. So it's the way it operated for now is more the community building aspect along different topics among the members.
Okay.
So the community building is very important. As soon as we get into the discussion.
How long, just for the listeners, how long is the process? What's the duration before you have to finalize your part of it?
Well, the work program 26-27 somehow will be drafted next year, right? So I think the first half of
before
next year
after summer holiday. After summer.
Well, I think before summer we should be very clear, certainly among the directions that we were going, and then there's a process of fine tuning. That's how I believe it will work out.
So you have 7-8 months.
Yeah, and FP10, I mean, discussions will be moving on there too, and I think it's a very interesting period to really mobilize your membership around these discussions. Because these are key discussions.
A lot of things are going on now throughout the whole process bubble in the partnership.
So that's clearly important, and the community building to foster cooperation among members, then to be able to combine that is important as well, and that's what we're trying to do. And then there could be specific online webinars on particular subtopics, meaning very concrete stuff, or generative AI, to name something that is not named during the last 2 months. No, I'm just joking. I mean, that's a hot topic for sure. Digital product passport I mentioned. There's augmentations of worker in factories, how it's done, what's the impact of technologies on workers. One can do particular webinars on that. There's a lot to do, but somehow we have to keep oversight and be very specific towards the next work program, and have a good discussion with the Commission, and cooperate with the discussion.
Now you already shared with us that you're actually quite close to the Commission, and has been so quite recently in relation to that sort of part of the consultation part. We actually have been discussing a little bit here. Is there anything else you want to clarify, or in relation to, until say, because the ball is on your part of the pitch, right? So the next months you will have to structure your input from your side. Do you have any communication with the Commission until summer?
Oh well, yes. I mean, there's the consultation that we're doing. We'll be updating the Commission very soon, also on these developments. For sure, the Commission is developing their insights also based on
input from you.
Input from anybody. I mean, the Commission is not isolated, so clearly the Commission makes also some studies. There's studies being done. There's consultations, or HDEA, for instance, is in touch with the projects as well. We've been informed about the Commission from the Commission about that. So that's all very well. I mean, the point is that we inform one another about these developments, and this way we create the intelligence to create a good work program. That's what is important. So we're very closely working with the Commission on that. So we're not closing the door until September next year and say, okay, fine, what have you done the last 6 months? That's not how we work with the Commission.
No. And FP10, because that's a different cycle, right? That's Neptune. if 26, 27, that's Mars circling around the sun, then you have a little bit longer cycles with the FP10. But what is the timeline, so to say, of FP10 for? Have you got indications of, like what is your own sort of to start having some frame of what should be your priorities of content and so on? Have you got sort of a...
Well, I believe also next year will be an important year for that too.
Yeah.
So absolutely, and well, we're aware that the Commission is starting this exercise or has started this exercise. We, as mentioned, we are developing some ideas of what should be important for manufacturing industry in the future. Now I believe that, for instance, circular economy, it's clear that well, there's a lot of work to do, but that there's a lot of work in the pipeline. So really to see, okay, where are we now with these developments, and what should we do in the future? And I think, for instance, there it will be very important to be in touch with the wider ecosystem of manufacturing. I mean, the products of the future.
Yeah.
The way they are designed will have a huge impact on
Product
circularity,
design.
of course. So it's everything is connected there. So, and I think that the Commission will also look at that from a very holistic perspective. So we need to do that as well, and see where manufacturing comes in, and anticipate future developments. Yeah. Now, I think it's clear that manufacturing technologies are important and will be important. So
we
definitely have a role to play in the next framework program. So we are quite confident that there's something good to happen in FP10 as well.
Yeah. Thanks. I think let's conclude this part, because I think we've been covering quite well on how you're doing these things, and what the logic is behind this, dealing with this part. So let's just move into the last block here before we talk about the toughest challenge. So the membership involvement. I always put membership involvement, and that's not, well, any guest in my show, they can shamelessly self-promote the organization they work for. I always tell them that. And I tell it on the show because it should be clear to my listeners that I take people's time. So my listeners, they are welcome to express what they are doing as an organization. If they want to attract members or whatever, they're free to do so. And membership is, of course, something that you live out of. But it's not just because to give you a helping hand as part of communication and so on, and marketing for your organization. It's also because for me, it is vital to share with people how you can get involved, how you can to make it clear for people that it's not necessarily so complex to get your voice heard. And you can do that in many different ways within EU R&D funding, towards your own government, NCPs, program committee members. If you have a structure of innovation clusters that work with these things nationally, or the associations in Brussels that Chris here sits in, that gives you actually a helping hand when it comes to sharing. If you have something important to say, Chris will listen and the Commission will listen. So that should be the point. And this is why I always include this blog when I talk to organizations like yours, Chris. So membership and what you do, you are, of course, helping your members with everything we've just been talking about. But can you share a little bit with us how the membership involvement is structured with you?
Well, I mentioned the interaction through the working groups already a few times, and where I said, okay, we give our members a stage to make other stakeholders aware of what their capabilities are, what their track record is, and what they think of the future in terms of research priorities in manufacturing. So offering that stage is an important part of it, and guiding members through the network and making them feel integrated in the network. Networking is a very important thing in the context of European research and innovation. It's all about putting yourself within this network in a situation where other people know you, what you are doing, and how useful you can be in terms of solutions you have already been working on. That's the key. It's about people knowing people and making them feel welcome and making them feel like part of this story. So yeah, that's pretty much what EFFRA has been doing for a long number of years, and yeah, that also requires actually investment of time from the members. So we tend to also explain to members, saying, well, there's maybe some events here and there that perhaps we do not organize, but there's some conferences perhaps that you should perhaps attend where there's a lot of people from this or that community are participating, or give them guidance on past or ongoing projects in a certain area. Because that gives also perhaps also newer players a better insight in how the program is suitable for their own requirements. There's always a need to translate your own, from an industrial company perspective, requirements into what can this program mean for me? Or even if I will not be part of a project consortium, there's some research and technology solution providers in this network that could be very interesting for my future developments. So how do I reach out to them? How do I know what they are doing and make myself visible for them? So I think that's all very, very important in terms of the EFFRA membership.
Yeah. It's all about, so the thing is, first of all, right, you have payment membership, so that's quite easy. You don't have to be send an application, whatever. So if you want, you can contact Chris, and then you check your level of payment. So what is expected? It's more like exactly what Chris is mentioning here, that if you want something out of joining something like this, you have to participate and make yourself visible. And you need to view this not as something you do for your own good. This should not be a zero-sum game for you to go in and say, I want to push I join EFFRA so I can get everything I want through. You go into this because you want to collaborate with the community. Also with companies within your own field. You might even be competitors there. It doesn't matter. In this respect, it doesn't matter, because what EFFRA and Chris is trying to do for you is for the common good of the sector, to make things, to make the sector as such stronger and better, more competitive. So it's for the common good, and that's with that thought, it's with that attitude you should step into a working group, if you can get into such. Probably there's an application, I don't know, process around it. But if you want to engage yourself on that level, you go in and you have an open discussion about. You can, of course, everybody does that, because everybody has a priority that is important for their company, and you come with that. But then you have a talk and discussion and exchange on what you can agree on in a group. And if you come with an open and transparent attitude and willingness to collaborate and bend towards the other, it's going to be a wonderful thing for you. You're going to see a lot of it, because it's not only, as Chris just mentioned, it's not just about having your voice heard towards work programs where you want to see some priorities in strategic call taking. So what this does is that the people you will be sitting there and working with, you will see a collaboration on a practical level, not only with EU projects, because you will go into EU projects with some of these partners. You will also, maybe on a bilateral level, start to have a collaboration, both with research organizations, but also with other manufacturing industries in there. So it's gonna lift you up as an organization.
Well, you complemented extremely well what I've been saying. We should definitely get some more, promoters like you around. Very well done. Very well done, Niels. Very well done.
This because I've seen it I've seen it from the inside. I've been in a technology platform myself for the wind. I've been seeing it from many sides of the table throughout my career, and I understand the value that it gives to people. And I also, through this podcast, I've been talking to many people, right? And having these reflections with people from many different parts of it's a clear message to anyone who wants to join this. Don't be a jerk. Don't sit with your own stuff. Don't push your own agenda, because not only that, Chris, not only do people, you won't get anything through anyways if you have this attitude, but what it's also going to be doing is that people will start to put a little wall around you. It's very simple, because everybody who are working who are investing their time in this, they have an open, transparent attitude. And if somebody in that group starts to push their own agenda all the time, not many people are going to exchange with you, and you will not get those invitations into the right flagship consortium for a proposal, or you will not get that let's have a bilateral talk because we work on it. People will consider you a jerk.
That's what you are saying, Niels. No, but I mean, it's all about sharing. It's all about collaborative atmosphere. That's what it's all about. And it's what EFFRA does is creating a platform for that. Well, I think the minds of the people that we are talking with are very much in the same direction. So I think, as said, there's this drive, and the drive is clearly there, and that's very pleasant thing to see. And it's all about giving people a stage to make themselves heard, and making people aware of other people. Sometimes the opinions may differ, but that makes things interesting as well. There's really a good drive in this, and that's good.
Yeah. No. So out there, if you're from the manufacturing industry, on the industry side, reach out. If you're from the research side, reach out to Chris, if you're not already involved. The Grant. Chris, we reached the end. And we need to talk. This is a segment I have in all episodes. The toughest challenge. And here I just simply put toughest challenge as an association working with EU funding. I could be partnership working with EU funding. What's the toughest challenge as in your work, Chris?
Well, there's always constraints somewhere. I've mentioned, that budgets are not infinite. There's a need to make some choices, and for instance, there's the challenge of oversubscription of call topics, for instance, and the fact that many people feel disappointed when their proposal has not been funded, although it was an excellent proposal.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's some disappointment, and sometimes frustration, justified frustration that you have to deal with, and that somehow it's challenging to with resources that there's resources there, but still there's a limitation to these resources.
So that's basically the roughest part of because you are everybody, you sit and so where should funding go, right? And how much should be allocated, and when you make that Excel sheet is okay, then you need XYZ amount of euros, and then the commission says sorry, but you only have Y amount of euros.
It's always easier to say, okay, let's have very specific call topics, and let's then maybe have like 10 call topics, and make them more specific. And then you don't have to disappoint people, because you have 10. If you have only 4, then perhaps sometimes the topics get a bit more wider, perhaps, or broader in terms of how
Yeah,
you formulate
and
it.
and of course,
Uh, yeah.
your challenge. Your challenge is then to go back to your dear members that has been, we're gonna get a nice big cake, and then you come back with a cookie, and then they have to. The challenge here is, of course, that you need to. Where do you need to cut?
Well, the amount of funding that's available for Made in Europe was known upfront. So it's not that that we come back with less money than we promised or something.
Yeah.
But it's all about how call topics are set up. Where do you need to make choices? Which developments somehow need to be integrated, but then somehow some call topics may become overcharged in some way, and that's somehow the towards members the explanations you would need to give why a call topic is the call topic it is, and not something that perhaps members would have expected. That's but I mean, I don't need to be dramatic about it, but it's challenging sometimes to make people aware of all these processes, what's behind it, and but that's just the way it is. There's constraints. One has to accept the idea that there's always constraints. That's the way it works,
Baseline condition for all.
That's the way it works.
Well, on that note, Chris, thanks. Now I'm just going to land the plane before we say goodbye to the dear listeners. So, dear listeners, thank you so much for listening to the end. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. This was a very nice episode. Now, if you enjoyed what you're listening to here, there's lots and lots of content for you on my platform, thegrants.eu. You can also just scroll through your Spotify, my profile on Spotify, where you have everything gathered when you scroll down. On my platform, anyways, you will find it categorized. So you will find the label The Brussels Office. If you go to Podcast Universe, and there you will have categorized input that it's a little bit like you're having here. So if you like to listen to partnerships or what's going on in Brussels, you'll find episodes there. Anyways, and since you're there and when you're there, by all means, do not forget to subscribe to my email list, because that, as you regulars know, as I always say, it's what is important for independent podcasters like myself to have a growing email list. So if you have any sympathy with what I'm doing, by all means, do subscribe to that. Finally, don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn. And everybody who is joining my email list, I connect with them on LinkedIn. So I try to connect things there. So you know that everybody who has connected with me one way or the other, you are connected. But if you're not yet, for some reason, connected to me on LinkedIn, do connect with me. And do go and like my the Grant page, because I am trying to slowly channel the flow of information to my page, the Grant page on LinkedIn. Let's say goodbye to the dear listeners. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Grant. All the Grant episodes have their own site on the Grant website. You will find the link in the episode notes where you listen to your podcast. On the site for this episode, you will find a link to Chris' personal LinkedIn site. Further, there is of course a link to EFFRA's site where you can dig into their activities. Finally, I will leave a link to the category called The Brussels Office on my platform, thegrant.eu, with more episodes zooming in on the Brussels ecosystem. Next week, there will be another interesting insight into the Erasmus Plus project Win for SMEs that I am involved in with my daytime job. This recording is again an in-person recording that I managed to get in the box during our last partner meeting in Vilnius. Focus is on Train the Trainer concept, which many of you out there are involved in your project activities. For inspiration, great insights. Remember that the Grant would really like to join some EU proposals as a partner or subcontractor. I am slowly getting interested feedback for having the Grant included in proposals for 2025 calls. Reach out if you would also like to have the coolest podcast connected to your consortium. Also remember that you can develop your very own podcast episodes together with the grant. You get a plug-and-play solution where you only need to think about the content. And who should be on the show, naturally. Reach out also if you just want to get an idea of the possibilities. See you next week.